What's up guys, Jimmy here. Today I want to talk about Ryu's new VSkill 2. The Season 5 patch has been out for 2 weeks now. That's plenty of time to test out his new tool in various situations, and today I just want to give you guys my thoughts on this. After that you'll actually get some gameplay as well. There are some amazing clips that I gathered throughout the 2 weeks that I've been testing out this new VSkill. Some good ones and some really bad ones as well, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. But first, here are my thoughts on the VSkill 2. Before we talk about VSkill 2, we have to keep in mind that Ryu's VSkill 1 is actually not that strong. Capcom purposefully made it so that certain characters get strong VSkills while others have a little bit of like weaker and more situational tools, and that's totally fine. I think that's good game design to do it this way. But if you design your game like that, the additional VSkill that you're going to add to any character will directly be influenced by their first VSkill. If you have a strong VSkill 1, you're going to get a strong VSkill 2. And if you're going to get if like Ryu has a pretty bad one, right? So VSkill 2 already, it was pretty clear that he's not going to get like a very strong tool. But when we saw the first footage of the VSkill 2, we kind of saw Kulin's VSkill 1, and Kulin's VSkill 1 is actually pretty powerful. So people were thinking maybe they buffed VSkill 1 and because otherwise it wouldn't ever make sense to choose VSkill 1 over the amazing Kulin VSkill 1, right? Like Ryu's VSkill 2 being like that. But yeah, it turns out instead of doing that, they decided to make VSkill 2 of Ryu really bad. That's another way to balance things out, I guess. So yeah, it's not at all like VSkill 1 of Kulin, even though it kind of looks like it. But I'm gonna show you in a second like the frame by frame differences. They're pretty significant, and while some people think this is disappointing, especially for competitive play, we're going to talk about that in a second. It's pretty disappointing for competitive play, but I think there is some value for VSkill 2, and I want to talk about that first. So let's talk about what is good about the VSkill 2 of Ryu. It's accessible. This is really important for casual play actually, and this seems to have been the main thing Capcom was thinking about when designing the VSkill 2 for Ryu. It kind of reminded me of the V-Trigger 2 because like the powerful V-Trigger 2 parry that Ryu received is a really good tool for casual players. It's a lot of fun to use, it's very easy to use, but it's not very good for competitive play, and VSkill 2 is exactly like that. Since the attack and the counter, everything happens automatically. You just have to press VSkill and you're going to get the move automatically. This makes it very accessible, unlike VSkill 1, where even if you trigger it and even if you're right about the timing of your opponent's next move, you don't get a punish. You kind of need to know how to use the move even beyond using it. This makes it really difficult. If you parry anything, you have to know how to follow up. And I think this was what Capcom was going for. They just wanted to give casual players a more accessible VSkill. Okay, so now let's talk about why the VSkill 2 of Ryu is bad for competitive play. And for that, we're going to take a look at some numbers. So first of all, it has 10 frame startup until the counter state. Like the state where you can actively trigger the counter attack until you get there. This is amazingly slow. Like if you compare it to VSkill 1, VSkill 1 has 3 frames of startup, and even that for a lot of people is too slow. The VSkill 1 already doesn't have a lot of moves that you can really react to and punish on reaction with the parry. So if you take a look at the VSkill 2, there's just no way you're going to find any move that you can punish because of the startup frames. It's just way too slow. So after the 10 frames of startup, there is a 10 frames active window for this counter state, which is reasonable, I guess, but what's really bad is what happens after that. So if you go beyond the 10 frames where the counter can be triggered, there's a 5 frame startup that remains before you get the initial strike. And this is really what breaks the move, I think. This might not seem that bad at first. I mean, you're like a little bit vulnerable before you actually hit the attack, but this is the moment where your opponent is right, like he's basically able to react to that. So we're basically within 20 to 25 frames of like time passing after you pressed VSkill, right? And consider something like this. Overhead of Ryu, which is by the way really, really bad, is 22 frames. It has 22 frames of startup, and that's reactable. That's reactable if you're looking for it, which is why it's so bad. If you're about to kill your opponent and you do an overhead, in a lot of cases your opponent will just block it and punish you for it, especially in Season 5 because it's -7 in Season 5. So 22 frames is reactable. At least you can go from holding down back to holding back. You can't like hit a button in between on reaction, but if you're looking for it, at least you can block it. Now, the last 5 remaining, like the 5 frames before the strike, the initial strike of the VSkill 2 happens, is, as I said, between frame 20 and 25. So let's say your opponent is looking for the VSkill 2, which actually, honestly, he shouldn't be looking for it because it's so bad. You should never do it. But let's say you're like really hardcore, or you love the VSkill 2 and you're going to use it all the time. Your opponent will actually be able to react to the VSkill 2, and the moment he can visually confirm you're doing VSkill 2 and and he presses the button, he will almost always land within those last 5 frames to hit you before the strike appears. So this is really bad. And even if your opponent can't react to the VSkill properly, what he can do is at the very least go from holding forward to holding down back. One of the things that is really annoying about the VSkill 1 of Colleen, what makes it so good is even if your opponent wasn't pressing anything, like let's say your opponent is just walking forward, you can't actually react in time to block Colleen's VSkill 1 because of how fast it is. But with Ryu, you can actually visually confirm while you're holding forward, oh, my opponent is doing something, I'm gonna hold down back, and you will be able to block it in time. And then the VSkill 2 is in a you're in a +4 situation. You can, almost every character will be able to punish this one properly if you know how, which, as I said, is not really the case for casual play. Casual players will get away with a lot of VSkill 2s, which is why I say this is a great tool. If you're a beginner and you're looking for something to use without like having a lot of knowledge, go for VSkill 2 over VSkill 1. It's not a problem. But if you're a competitive player, if you want to win tournaments, this is a major issue. Your opponent will be able to block on reaction and punish you on reaction for it. That's really not acceptable for competitive play. Another thing that bothered me while playing with VSkill 2 is just how difficult it is to space it properly. I thought I was going to be able to space it in a way that is going to make it really difficult to punish, but I was not very successful at that. Every time I tried to go like a little bit further away, it kept whiffing, and honestly, I'm not quite sure if this is just me not being able to use it properly because it's pretty new. This could be the case, let's be fair about this. This could be the case, but still, it seemed really difficult and very specific. And on top of that, it's very difficult to judge where the opponent is going to be, considering how slow the move is in total. It really takes a lot of frames, and within those frames, there's a lot of stuff that can happen, and you're not gonna be able to control this move very well, which is basically the problem, right? You can't really use the move for competitive play on reaction to something. Unlike VSkill 1, by the way. VSkill 1 isn't really considered a good VSkill, but at the very least there are some moments where you can visually confirm something is happening and you react with your parry and punish properly. That's really powerful. That is powerful, but it has very, very limited use cases for competitive play because competitive players know about this. But at the very least, if you're playing against Nash, they will not use EX Moonsault against you, because if they do, they will literally lose the game because of the parry. And this is really powerful, like being able to shut certain moves like out entirely just by having this option. And with VSkill 2, there's really nothing you can compare it to. VSkill 2 is just YOLO it. You're just YOLOing it all the time if you want to get something out of it. And you know what the worst part about this is? Even if you do happen to get a counter attack, you should immediately win the game, honestly. You should win the round if you land this VSkill, because of how difficult it is to actually land. But if you do land it, if you trigger the counter attack, it doesn't even give you anything. Like, this is kind of ridiculous. I was really sad about that when I tested this in a couple of matches. You really don't get Oki. You can dash once after triggering the counter attack, and then if the opponent quick rises, you can pressure them. You get like a good meaty attack and a good combo. That's okay. But if the opponent back rolls, you're immediately outside of the pressure. Like, you basically can't really get anything off of that situation, which is really unfortunate considering how difficult it is to land the VSkill 2. It would have been nice to at least get good Oki off of it. Now, all of this sounds really bad, but we haven't even talked about another bad thing of the VSkill 2. Sorry guys, in case you thought like I could turn this around with some amazing property. I'm afraid it's actually going to get even worse. The VSkill 2 of Ryu does not trigger properly if you want to go through Projectile. It does not have Projectile invincibility, or it doesn't trigger the counter attack against a projectile. You will simply get hit. And this is actually unlike Kulin's VSkill. And Kulin's VSkill 1 is really powerful against projectile characters, specifically because of that property. And it's so unfortunate to see how Ryu's VSkill does not do that. I thought initially when I saw the initial trailer, I thought this is going to be a great VSkill against characters like Guile, for example, or Sagat, because if I have a proper read, I can go through the fireball, right, and then get a punish off of that. But no, that's not possible with Ryu. He does not have projectile invincibility on that move, so it's only against strikes. And as I said, there's no way to do this on reaction. You have to YOLO it. If you're wrong, you will get punished for it. Okay, so now I'm done trashing VSkill 2 competitively. Let's end this video on a high note though. I want to talk a little bit about the thought process for Capcom with the VSkill 2. As I said, this is for casual players, and maybe this is actually a hint into the future. This is something I will talk about in a separate video. I'm sure you've already seen this anyways. There are some really strong hints for Street Fighter 6 for 2021. And this is, like, I can't even tell you guys how excited I am if this is actually true. There are some really strong hints. We're going to talk about that in a separate video, but let's consider these rumors to be true for now. And like, this is something we've seen in Street Fighter 4 as well, where the developers started to add stuff into the game, Omega Mode, that kind of made it into Street Fighter 5, right? And we might actually be seeing something similar right now with the VSkill 2. I can't help but think that Capcom is trying to balance out a future Street Fighter game in a way that makes it exciting for competitive play, but yet accessible for the casual audience. And Ryu is a perfect example of that. The VSkill 2 of Ryu is absolute garbage for competitive play, but yet it's really fun to use as a casual player and really rewarding. And when I'm talking about rewarding, like, I mean, we can actually get really philosophical about this. Let's talk a little bit about extrinsic and intrinsic rewards. The VSkill 2 is a move that has a lot of that can really trigger intrinsic rewards. Landing a counter attack is very satisfying. This is the same thing for the parry. The reason why the parry is so satisfying is not because of the punish that you get, which is an extrinsic reward. It's because of the intrinsic rewards that are so good. It's really nice if you can outsmart your opponent, and there's basically a representation. There's a move essentially in Street Fighter that represents that you outplayed your opponent. That's basically what the parry does. Any counterattack basically has this property, and I think this is what Capcom is looking for. They're looking to make the game fun, and fun for everybody. And this is a really nice thing for, like, it's kind of hard, really. It's kind of hard because, like, for me as a competitive player, if I take a look at VSkill 2, I can't help but think this is just a waste. Like, it's just a wasted VSkill. But at the same time, if the next Street Fighter game, if Street Fighter 6 has something similar where you can choose between different moves, and some moves are really satisfying for a certain audience, while the competitive players will do something else entirely, I think that's totally fine. I think that's a good way to approach this whole problem of like making it so that casuals enjoy a fighting game without alienating the competitive audience. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. The VSkill 2, the TLDR for it is, it's bad for competitive play, but good for casuals because it's more accessible. At first I thought this is gonna be like a matchup dependent thing, especially with Guile and Sagat. As I said, I thought it's gonna go through projectiles, which it doesn't, which makes it useless for those matchups, by the way. Then I thought, okay, maybe against Dhalsim's limbs, maybe. And it turns out the counterattack doesn't properly trigger on the limbs, so that's useless as well. So yeah, if you're a competitive player, keep playing VSkill 1, but if you're a casual, try it out. It's a lot of fun to use. It's very satisfying when you can trigger the counterattack. But yeah, it can also be, like, it's really the source of a lot of frustration when you're trying to desperately make it work, and it just doesn't trigger properly. And yeah, you'll see in the upcoming clips that I had a fair share of like frustration and a lot of fun as well with the VSkill 2. Before I end this video, I just want to mention that this will be the last talking video of 2019, and 2019 has been a crazy year for me. At the start of 2019, I was still a student, I wasn't married, I wasn't a dad, so I think a lot of stuff changed within this year, and I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been sticking to my channel for the last couple of years, or even if you're new, welcome. This channel wouldn't really exist the way it is without you guys. It's very motivating for me to keep producing daily content for YouTube and also stream on Twitch with this amazing support behind me. This really can't be overstated, and I would never have considered this without the support. This was a really scary moment for me when I decided to go full-time content creation, and I can tell you, like, at the moment this seems like the perfect choice that I made, and I just want to say thank you so much for making this a possibility for me. Tomorrow there will be another video with the stream highlights probably, but this is going to be the last talking video, and potentially even the last talking video in this quality that you're watching. I've been recording all of my talking videos with my Logitech webcam for such a long time, but next year I want to upgrade to a DSLR, so you're gonna get a nicer picture when you're watching and hearing me. So I hope you guys will enjoy that too. Once again, thank you so much for all of your support. Happy New Year's Eve, and I'll see you guys in 2020. Take care. He crush countered me on that. That was a crush counter on the VSkill. Like, I tried to do a VSkill there, VSkill 2, and I got crush countered. Man, this is such a terrible tool. Did you see that? I just failed on the jump in. Yeah, I got a crush counter on that using VSkill. I can't believe I got that. This is worthless. This is worthless. Oh man, I can't believe everything worked right there. Even the VSkill too. man, got him. How am I getting away with that? Oh, he finally blocks that shit. Oh man. Look how he's respecting it now. Like I'm just getting away with so much bullshit. I can't believe how scared this guy is of VSkill too. Let's go. Okay. Okay, finally he punishes it. This is hilarious. Oh my god, I actually got that combo off! Let's go! Okay, I actually got him, damn. He's messing up the punish because he's not aware of it yet. I'm just getting away here with a lot of BS. Oh, what? We did it on the same... What? Oh, what the fuck just happened? It just fails?